Okay, this is my first tutorial ever, so I'm going to do my best. As I told you in class, I wasn't totally satisfied with the way I tried to help you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can use these articles to write your report. Again, we'll try to keep it as simple as possible. So first off, we can take a look at the article, Just Do It. I thought that was a very, very apt title, since that's exactly what you need to do. Just do it. Don't think so much about it. Just do it. Sit down and try to read through the article. Okay. So let's see what I did here. So this was the whole article. It was quite short. And honestly, it's quite informal as well. But there are some sort of key points in this article which we could sort of take out, and we could use them in our essays. So let's take a look. So what I did was I used this Cornell method here, and basically I went through and I took the key points from the article. The first thing I did was I just wrote all the notes out. So this is the article, Just Do It. And then you can see my notes here. They're not great notes, but they're good for me. Okay, and so what I did was I wrote up the key points here. They're using mainstream, U.S. mainstream is a doing, an activity orientation. I gave some examples of how they use how are you doing, how are you. They tend not to be concerned about how the person is doing, but rather what the person is doing. In other words, the focus on the activity orientation. Okay, and then I kept going with the notes all the way down, which you can read through. Okay, all the way down. And then eventually I got moved over into the more of the being cultures, and then with each example I highlighted it. Example, I can make it thicker here for you. Example, France, dinner for socializing. They sit around the table. Okay, and then gradually he comes into a definition of what a being culture is. Okay, once I was done with that, then what I did was I went back and I just looked at all the key points. And I said, okay, well, what is the sort of the key idea in this whole area here? Well, it's about doing, an activity orientation, and then the characteristics of the doing culture. And then what I noticed was there was a key point in this, because it was really about values. So in other words, the activities tell what the worth of the person is, or what this particular culture values is the activities that a person does. I wrote a question here, what is a doing culture? And there's more of a definition that comes. And then at the end, he talks up a key point down here where he basically says that we have a bias for acting over speaking or talking. So I wrote that as well, acting versus talking. And then later, near the end of the notes here, he starts taking up tasks around the household. And then we realize this also comes into more of a value system, where there's a difference between the egalitarian culture, where everybody's kind of seen as equals, and more a hierarchical culture, from the India and Pakistan. Okay, where these sort of household chores are more for people that do not have such a high education. Okay, and then finally you have the being characteristics. Okay, and in this here I took out that, well, it's actually relationships which are valued. So in other words, the worth of the person has to do with the relationships. And there was a key sort of point here. So the misunderstanding lies in how we define worth. So we might actually write even misunderstanding here. Okay, and then at the bottom I wrote the source. Okay, so what we're going to do now then, we'll skip over to the other side. We'll skip over to a Word document, but let's keep this in mind. Let's take all these key points here. In the Q column, we have the doing versus being, acting versus talking, the different values. Okay, and that's more or less what your section is going to be about. So we'll skip over.